This is the North Georgia Life Podcast. Embrace life where you live. Welcome back to the North Georgia Life Podcast. It's Jake, your host, and today we are in Clarksville, Georgia at Cowboy Bob's Coffee and Donuts. Coffee and donuts and flowers and local honey and barbecue and lots of different things going on at this small little staple, becoming a staple in the North Georgia area. It's one of those that has such a really neat history because it was kind of like a nothing property. It's changed hands a number of times, and really nothing ever happened until Cowboy Bob arrived. So then it's taken on a whole new life. It's that you've got like fresh ice cream there, like so many different things. And I had to smile and laugh a little bit. It was one of the first things I told my wife when I got done recording. So we're there recording in the morning, and probably about 10:15. It's about 10:15 in the morning, 10:30. Somebody ordered 2 scoops of chocolate ice cream on a cone. Like, where else can you do that? That you can get like good, like fresh ice cream at 10:15 in the morning. Like, you're either having a terrible morning or an amazing morning. Like, it is one extreme or the other. Just from a life and a business perspective, probably one of the things that resonated with me the most in my conversation with Bo, who's recently taking on the management ownership, kind of the operation of the property by and large, is preparing yourself for the next season in life. And a lot of times people don't prepare because they don't really know what it's going to look like. And it's like, well, if I knew what it was going to look like, then I'd, prepare differently, or I'd do different things. And it's like, well, that's one way of kind of looking at it. The other way is preparing ahead of time to give yourself options for when that time comes. And that's, a lot of those things in life and business just come around creating margin. I've shared this with several people. It might have been on the podcast recently that I mentioned. In every economy, people succeed. Whether the economy is going down, going up, stagnant, whatever, there's always opportunity for people who are prepared when opportunity arrives. And a lot of times, the people who are not able to capitalize on opportunity they're not any different than the people who are. They're just less prepared or not prepared at all. So you will hear that story that someone who kind of wasn't looking. There was a couple conversations that connected what I think is going to be a very thriving business and location for the years to come. One, because of all the things that they're doing. The location is a fantastic location, and just the heart and the service that they have behind doing what they're doing it with excellence, and keeping that small town North Georgia vibe that people love, keeping that at the forefront of everything they're doing. But like, don't miss that in the story, that all of this kind of wouldn't have happened like this if the original owner, Cowboy Bob, and his wife Paula, if they weren't prepared for an opportunity when that opportunity came, and likewise for Bo and Annette and their new running of the operation, wherever that hits you, like, take a kind of an inventory of how you're preparing for the next phase of life, for the next dream, the next goal, the next whatever, and start making maybe even just some small adjustments, so that when those opportunities come, when one conversation leads to the next conversation, leads to an open door, that you're able to walk through it. Because the worst thing that can maybe not the worst thing, but a less than favorable thing that can come across to all of us is the perfect thing comes at a time where we are totally unprepared. And when you can't say yes, when you can't walk through the door, like, that is just like a life steeped in regret and what if. And you will hear a practical walking out of, we were kind of keeping ourselves open, ready, prepared, not knowing what the next season of life was, but so that if something like this came across, like, we're okay. Like we can make that transition, and hopefully that will encourage, inspire, and maybe provide a little bit of practical guidance to someone listening that, hey, I could do something like this too, and it's not going to be an overnight thing, but like it happens. So you know how to find us on Facebook, Instagram, North Georgia Life Podcast. You can email me at northgeorgialifepodcast@gmail.com if you have suggestions on future episodes. If you are an aspiring social media influencer or whatever, and you just want to donate a couple hours a month to just helping us out with some social media and some marketing stuff like that, we would love it. I would love it. And in everything we do, our whole goal is to create future opportunities and future wins for the people that we're working with, the people who are on the podcast, getting them better connected to people who they may need to know down the road. Like I said, never knowing where the roads lead in life, but as we can help provide value and help people in our community, we want to do that, and that includes for anybody we're working with. So longer introduction than I'd planned, but this is I love Cowboy Bob's operation, and I think you will too. So let's get started. Welcome back to the North Georgia Life Podcast. It's Jake, your host, and today we are at a place in North Georgia that a lot of people have maybe heard of, maybe seen online. And if you're at all in the Clarksville area, I know you've been here. I don't know how quite frankly, you could live in Clarksville without it. We're with Bo Webb at Cowboy Bob's Coffee and Donuts. But not just coffee and donuts. We've got a few more things here.
Yeah, we do ice cream. We do barbecue on the weekends. And the menu's constantly expanding.
So it's one of those places you walk in and it's it's not a 10,000 square foot shopping center, but everywhere you look is something like, ooh, I want to try that. Ooh, I want to eat that. Ooh, what's that? So this is obviously, you're in the throes of getting ready for the fall season, which is, I imagine, probably a fairly busy time for you guys.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you for your time to begin with. Can you give us a quick history of you? You'd mentioned earlier before we started, you grew up in the West Georgia area.
I did, yeah.
And about whereabouts?
So born in Atlanta, and then when I was probably 2 or 3 years old, my parents moved out to Douglas County, which is about 30 minutes west of Atlanta. Mm-hmm. Lived there, went through high school. After graduating high school, moved a little further west. My family's owned construction companies that's forever, going back several generations, and then I fell into the family business, did that in West Georgia, took that to Northwest Florida during the late 90s, early 2000s. From there, when the condo crash happened in 2008, I came back to Atlanta, shut my company down, with the help of the Great Recession, and went to work for a large general contractor, and for the last dozen or so years, I've been building hospitals, labs, and research facilities.
Wow.
And we just got tired of driving to Atlanta, so I'm working from home, working in my backyard now.
Yeah. So how did was this, I mean, we've got literally here, it's like everything that you would love to eat. You've got barbecue, you've got donuts, you've got ice cream, you've got some seasonal baked items that you were just showing me. And was this all was this just a personal hobby, like a passion? Were you the family chef when you were growing up, or?
So a little bit of all of that. What we have is, for the last couple of years, like I said, working in Atlanta, living up here in the mountains, commuting back and forth several days a week, sometimes every day of the week, was looking to find something that was closer to home. Mm-hmm. And so me and my wife, 3-4 years ago, started a flower farm on our property just about 20 minutes from here. And we've been growing that business, and it's been growing slow, but it's been growing. And so we run, that's Laurel Glen Farm and Flowers, and she does flower subscriptions through there. I'm the hired hand, the laborer, pushing wheelbarrows and stuff. Also done some like remodeling work, just staying in the construction, kind of on the construction side of things. But that was not, it wasn't really ever going to be an opportunity to just completely switch out of what I was doing. Mm-hmm. And my daughter, our second youngest daughter, she's up at Liberty University now. Mm-hmm. came to work a year and a half ago for Bob and Paula, who started this coffee shop, and she's been working here. And I guess it was probably 9 months ago, she mentioned that to me that they were looking to sell the place. So we kind of have to link both stories together. So Bob and Paula, they are they're past retirement age. Bob was a businessman up in Canada. He sold out several years ago and retired here to the South, and him and his wife Paula. And 2020, they had this piece of property across the street from them that was just a vacant lot with an old rundown gas station that had been used for a tire shop, a junk store. We had a guy who sold boiled peanuts out of the parking lot. I mean, it was just been a little bit of everything over the years, but it had been abused and abandoned. I looked at old Google Maps photos of this place, and there's like piles of pallets and wood and junk and stuff here. But Bob had a vision of let's turn this into like a Canadian Adirondack style Western, because he's from Alberta, which is the Texas version of, Canada's version of Texas. So he wanted to bring some of that Western flair down here, and the timing was pretty good because you have everybody in love with Yellowstone and those type of things going on right now. So they bought the piece of property here and started remodeling and turning this into a coffee shop. And in that, Bob is a visionary. He's constantly pushing ideas out. He's coming up with new ways to do things. And Paula was the operations person. She was coming up with the recipes. She was getting the stuff. She was training the staff. But they were ready. They got this thing up and running. And 10 months ago, they were ready to go back to see their grandkids and travel some more and go back to their lifestyle that they had before all the craziness happened in 2020 in the world. So they mentioned it to my daughter that they were interested in selling. Actually tried to sell to her, and we were going to help her figure out how to buy it. But she, at 20 years old, she's just not there yet. But she mentioned it to us, and I was like, oh, that could be a good thing. But really, nothing came of it. Well, we have a vendors market that happens once a month on the first Sunday of every month, and the first one of this year, Bob had set up to have someone do barbecue. Well, I have a history with doing large barbecue events with my church and just different organizations, and I get excited when somebody says barbecue. And I was like, all right, well,
I do too, but I'm there to eat.
Well, same thing. So I was like, well, I'm definitely coming up for the vendors market. I want to try this barbecue that he's got going on up there. Well, 4 days before the vendors market happened, the guy that was going to help Bob fell off a ladder, hit his head, got hurt. I mean, he's fine now, so thankfully, but he got hurt and wasn't able to do it. So Leslie Ann, our daughter, she said, we're not going to have barbecue this weekend. And I said, what happened? And he said the guy's he's not going to be able to do it. Didn't really know the story. And I said, well, you tell Bob if he needs somebody to come help him with the barbecue, I'll come up and help him with it. So she mentioned it to him, but we didn't have time to put anything together. And he found somebody else to come in and just serve barbecue. Somebody from some other town came in, helped him out with it. But my wife was selling her flowers here because she'd been selling from the flower farm up there. So for that vendors market, we had a booth set up. And when Bob came and found me, and he says, tell me about the barbecue. And we got to talking. And I have a large commercial custom built smoker. And I told him, yeah, I can do it. And he said, well, why don't you think about doing this? I was like, sure. I once a month, vendors market, come up here and do this. And he said, no, all the time. I'm like, well, Bob, I don't know about that. And so this was about a month before Memorial Day weekend, and I said, you're going to have to let me think about this. And he said, well, I'll tell you what I'll do. He said, if you'll think about doing it for that Memorial Day weekend, he said, I'll get all the inventory, I'll purchase all the inventory, and he said, you do all the labor and we'll split it. I was like, okay, we'll see what we can do. Well, we didn't make much money that first weekend, but we had so much fun. I decided to go ahead and do it that Memorial Day weekend. Like I said, we didn't make a lot of money.
Is that this past Memorial Day?
Yeah, this past Memorial Day. So we had the coffee shop running, we had the donuts running. It's been going for a while, but the barbecue was Memorial Day weekend. And like I said, we didn't make any money, but we had a ton of fun. And we were meeting people, shaking hands, talking to folks. People got excited about it. So the next week I said, me and Bob got talking. He says, well, why don't we try doing it every weekend? I said, well, Bob, I still have a full-time job. I said, I can't do that. And he said, well, just think about it. So what happened was I thought about it. I did some math, and I said, okay, well, let's take a look and see what we can do. The first weekend, we were operating on what's called a event permit from the health department. So we have a full kitchen service, everything here. We have a 100 health score on the building. We're fine over here. But we serve out of a kiosk next door. We have outdoor dining over there. And that was not approved by the health department to serve out of. So the first weekend we got an event permit. The health department came in, they signed everything, said we had places to keep it clean, keep it sanitary, keep it hot. They signed off on it. Well, they're only allowed to do that every so often. So that next weekend I told Bob, I said, yeah, let's give it a try. Went to the health department, said we need another event permit. And they said, oh, no, you've got to actually, if you're going to do it more than just the one-off here and there, you've got to come in and do, it's got to be an extended kitchen. So it took us about another month to get all that set up where we could, serve food out of it with real kitchen equipment and not have any issues with the health department. And which they've been great. They come in, they inspect us, they give us a 100 health score over there. We have a 100 health score over here. But it took about a month to get through that. So that month, me and Bob were talking. There are big ideas coming up. We're how we can expand this business, how we can grow this business. And in those conversations, he looked at me and he says, "Me and Paula are ready to go see our grandkids." And he said, I want your family to have this business. And I said, I don't know how that looks, Bob. So we started working, we started talking, and we decided to go ahead and purchase it. He showed me the books. We looked at everything, got the financing right. We looked at where we made money, how I could afford to pay my own mortgage on my own house, and then purchase this from him. And so at the end of the day, Bob and Paula kept an investor piece of the company, and the rest of it was sold to me and my wife. And we're actually just finished up the deal. Bob and Paula are across the street right now. They're loading their RV, and they leave it first thing in the morning to go see their grandkids out west.
Fun.
And so me and my wife Annette, we own the place. We took over, and we have Bob and Paula still on the hook so that they can come over here. And Bob wears his cowboy hat and shakes the kids' hands and gives away all the ice cream. So.
And I said when we were walking around, like it's a small space, but 10 out of 10 on the motif. Like just the you've got the cowboy vibe. You've got some of the metal tin roof kind of thing. You've got some black leather, nice. I mean, just very, very comfortable indoor space. And then the outdoor space is great because while it is on, while you're kind of at an intersection, it's not the interstate.
No.
You don't have a ton of road noise. You're going to be able to have conversations and just hang out. And you've got a space on the backside. You've got parking on parking on parking. So pretty much doesn't matter what the traffic is like. There's going to be a place to park. So when I reached out about scheduling our conversation today, I didn't know that transition has like literally just happened. What a great story from a standpoint of, because I think a lot of the entrepreneurs and the people that I talk to, there's kind of a moment in time, or the final domino or whatever, that says, okay, I'm gonna stop doing this. I'm gonna start doing this, and everything's a little bit different in the timing in life and the phase of life and in the motivators. Was there a time when you and Annette were just like, yeah, no, this is the right thing? And what was that like? And going from having a career, while the last 20 years or so, the construction world has been literally all over the map, highs and lows and in betweens. That's at least a comfortable space that This is obviously different than that. What was that transition like for you as husband and wife and now business partners, and to leave what you knew to start something that you had a passion with, but you obviously are new to?
Yeah. So the initial conversations were, a lot of concern, a lot of worry, just like, how are we going to do this? How are we going to do that? What are we going to do? But at the end of the day, it's still just business. We're on the backside, the part that people don't see, it's dollars in, dollars out. You manage your money, you manage your budget, you manage your inventory, you manage your staff, you take care of your people. And as long as you get the basics, the foundation right, then the business takes care of itself. Now the day-to-day operations, cooking. You asked earlier about if I was a family chef. Yes, cooking has always been a passion. Early on, like I said, we family-owned construction companies. I've owned my own construction company. I was down the Panhandle during the condo boom. Invested in some restaurants down there when things were going. the Panama City Beach area, if anybody's familiar with the Pier Park area, there were a couple restaurants that were owned by local people down there that I had early investments in that are no longer there. That the recession took those out. But just the food service industry's always fascinated me. Cooking's always fascinated me. I started the whole barbecue thing started with me. I actually went to when we were down there, probably 25 years ago. I went to a barbecue competition, a local barbecue competition. It's just a spectator, and as a Christian, as a man of faith, I saw these guys and they were having a blast cooking. The food was great, but they were having a blast cooking. But they were staying up all night. They were drinking. They were cussing. They were doing all the things, having a good time. And I saw it as a ministry opportunity. I was like, if I could ever get some guys from my church together and we could get a team together, we could come up here and we could have some fun. We could cook some barbecue. We could have some food, and we could share the gospel with folks. And I went out, had a custom smoker built, started learning how to smoke meat. That first stuff I wouldn't serve to my dog today, but over time skills got built, but I could never get a team put together from the church. So I was like, well, I've got all this stuff, so we'll do some church events, at our own church. And so that's what I've used that smoker for. I've had it for probably 15 years, and that's what I used it for, and I've had it, updated and changed it some. But always, smoking meat for huge groups of people, developing my own spices, seasonings, rubs, recipes, my own barbecue sauce. My barbecue sauce, I get people now that, because you mentioned the area right here, we're off the highway, but the intersection we're at is extremely popular intersection because it leads into Clarksville, but it also leads into the back way to Lake Burton, Lake Raven, Lake Seed. People are going to kill me for this, but the Soak River, the Sock River, the Squee, however you want to pronounce it, it's SOQEE. Every local has a different.
My wife says first time she says she's the Soaky. I said no, and also please don't ever say that to anyone that's from around here.
I found out it doesn't matter how you say it; somebody's going to say you're saying it wrong. So, but it's this is the road that goes into all of that. So we get a lot of vacationers that come up through here. So I got people right now that have been up here on vacation in the area from Ohio, a couple of different places out west that are calling me and messaging me on Facebook, wanting me to ship them my barbecue sauce. So I'm working right now with a co-packer to hopefully early next year be able to put my barbecue sauce out there to the public. So my wife knew my passion for cooking, and when this came available, I think she got a little nervous because she knew that the wheels were starting to turn. And even though Bob was over there pushing to get out of the business, she already knew I was pushing to get in a business. And the other part of it was me driving to Atlanta so many days a week. 365, 985, and 85 are the three, my options to get there. And spending that much time on the road, she was tired of me being on the road all the time. And she was getting more and more worried about me because, we went to Buford yesterday to shop for her to shop for a wedding dress for one of my daughter's weddings coming up in about a month from now. And we passed 3 bad accidents on the way. She was like, I understand why you don't want to drive this drive anymore. So she found peace with it, and me, I had peace all along. I just knew it's dollars in, dollars out. So
let's go to the business, the menu, some of the things you guys have for people who have not been here or aren't connected with you guys on social media or whatever and don't see some of the pictures. You've got a kitchen here, so you do some preparation, some from scratch here. Take us through kind of what you have in your day-to-day menu.
Paula is the driving force behind everything that comes out of the kitchen on the bakery side of things. To start out with, the business name is Cowboy Bob's Coffee and Donuts. Bob and Paula drink coffee, but they're not coffee snobs. They're not coffee drinkers. I am a coffee snob. Me and my wife, we've traveled Europe. My wife's from Scotland, so we've traveled Europe. We're always looking for the best cup of coffee. Well, when they first started, the pastries here, the baked goods, were amazing. Our staple is our donuts. We do custom donuts. They're custom decorated here. They're yeast donuts, so you don't get that fried flavor that you get some places. They're fresh baked every morning. They're decorated, and then what we don't sell, we donate to the local police department, or we donate to a local school. We try to manage our inventory where we're not donating a whole lot, but we don't hold donuts over to the next day and try to sell yesterday's inventory. And then all the baked goods that we have on the case right now are Paula's recipes. A lot of them are from the Midwest and stuff. So like our muffins is a recipe that she found, I think she told me 22 years ago in a local old cookbook that was just tattered and torn. Our pumpkin cake we've had people calling for the last 3 weeks asking when we're going to bring it on board. And we debuted it this morning for this season.
Yeah.
We'll keep the pumpkin cake here through the fall season.
Yeah.
And bring it back next year. Our cinnamon rolls, it's another one of Paula's recipes that she's came up with. And so our custom baked goods. We also do for like events. We've got right before me and you got on this, I had a call of someone ordering a birthday cake because we have two full-time bakers and a part-time baker that work for us. So we can do custom cakes. Because of the flower business, we get a lot. My wife sells a lot not to florists. We don't sell directly to florists with the flower business, but we do sell to people who like wedding venues who offer a service of putting weddings together. And so through that, we've got some people who've asked us to do wedding cakes, and our bakers can do wedding cakes and stuff like that. So, but it's all handmade from scratch, except and decorated right here. Our bakers are amazing. Philly and Marty and Allison. And then we have another girl that's she's not really part-time. She comes in when needed. Her name's Anna. So between the four of them, two full-time, one part-time, and one on-call baker.
And you've got, for the people who are not like, it sounds like you're from my tribe of the coffee purist. Years ago, we stopped drinking creamer with our coffee because when you started looking at pretty much any creamer, you can't recognize most of the ingredients on the back.
Correct.
And then you look at what the serving size is and the calories in it, and I was like, well, I think I'd rather have a coffee with or a donut with my coffee than a donut in my coffee. And then you realize, like, not all coffee tastes bad. It's just when you buy bad cheap coffee, you have to put creamer in it to make it palatable.
Yep.
So then when you start drinking better coffee and you get it, acclimated to different things. But you have, for people who are coffee people, you have good coffee, but then you also have like more syrups than Starbucks. It's for people who want the seasonal drinks, or they want the frou-frou, whatever you want to call them. Yep. The flavored drinks, you've got all sorts of stuff for those things.
Yes, we do. So on the coffee side of things, you're absolutely right. Most coffee that was held over was the World War II with the whole, there was a coffee shortage in the country, so they started putting chicory in it, and most people didn't know what real coffee tasted like. Wow. And then that big chain coffee company came out and started putting real coffee, and people went crazy for it. And then from that, all the mom and pop type coffee shops started showing up, and I'm constantly in search of the better coffee. And I roast some of my own here, but I haven't got my recipes dialed in on my roasting to. Yeah. The coffee I'm roasting is not to the point where I think it's good enough to serve to the public yet, but I enjoy it. But yeah, I'm constantly searching for it. And you're right, we keep an eye on, we use Torani for our syrups for the most part, which is, I think, probably most coffee shops are using Torani, or a couple of the other different brands, but Torani is most popular. We have all the normal syrups that people are used to seeing, but Torani also has a pure made, which has no artificial ingredients, no artificial colors, no artificial dyes in it, and we're trying to bring that full line of those Torani Pure Made syrups in, because people are really going to get health conscious. That in Europe, the food colorings are outlawed. And here we put food coloring in everything, and it causes so many autoimmune things and health issues. And so we're bringing those on board, and we're going to start phasing out the ones that have food coloring in it, and get rid of moving those over. So you can get a really good fresh roasted. I lean heavily on organic products, fair trade, those type things. Yep. So we're trying to do something a little different. We use paper cups. We're not going to use plastic. Yep. We still have plastic utensils. I haven't switched over to that.
It's interesting you say that. So my wife and I just went on our 10-year anniversary trip. We saved for 10 years to go to Switzerland. So we're 10 days in Switzerland, and it may require 10 years of savings because it's not cheap to get there or to go around. But to your point about just the health of the European cuisine, if you will. So dairy and me do not get along. Gluten and my wife do not get along.
Yep.
We had pizza every day we were there.
Yep.
Zero reaction.
Glyphosate.
Is zero reaction. You had, and we tell people it's like they can't believe it. I'm like, we don't realize how terrible our food is until you go somewhere else. And by the way, we've had the same thing in Mexico. It doesn't have to be all the way across the Atlantic. We've had the same thing where because of the manufacturing that our food goes through and what's put into it, what's taken out of it. I'm like normally if I have pizza on like a Saturday night, we go out for pizza or whatever, typically I'll be fine because I almost never eat dairy. If I have leftovers the next morning or for lunch the next day, it's game over. Like bad things happen to Jake for about a week. With going over to Switzerland, having pizza every day, and then one day I think we had pizza and we were in the town of Gruyere, where Gruyere cheese comes from, had quiche. Okay, which was basically like looking at a molten piece of cheese and butter just congealed together. And I'm like, certainly this is going to tip the scale, and I'm going to be no reaction at all, at all. And so when I hear you say that, I'm like, yay! Like there's other people out there, because I think as a culture and as a society, as people get their health wanes, they start hearing or taking these things into account maybe a little bit more seriously. And like maybe it's just not all a bunch of woo woo. Like there could actually be some truth to it. It unfortunately for most of us, it takes something like that to help us get off of that. And we're about a 90% gluten-free household. Our son is entirely gluten-free, but I tell everybody that's never done it, it's like I've not met the person that this has not happened to. If you would go gluten-free for 4 days, between day 3, day 4, you will wake up and you'll be like, I feel like I'm thinking clearer. I feel like I'm not as tired. I don't have a lag in the middle of my day. Like you could literally set your watch to it. Somewhere between day 3, day 4, everybody kind of has that like, oh my gosh, I feel good. And then you realize, oh, well, why don't I feel like this? Oh, because everything has gluten in it. Everything has corn syrup in it. And it's like, thankfully nowadays there are options out there, but it's it takes a little bit of effort and care to go find them. So we'll talk about gluten-free stuff, because I don't know if Paula makes gluten-free, but my wife has dialed in some really, really awesome gluten-free things.
We're going to be working on them here, because I own a donut shop, so I'm definitely not a health food store.
Don't go entirely people need regular good donuts.
Yes, they do.
So don't abandon that that part of the business.
No, definitely.
So your barbecue and your monthly, what do you call it?
The vendors market.
Vendors market. Take us through what that is and what it looks like. What weekends of the calendar that is, and kind of what all's there.
Yeah, so we serve barbecue every weekend: Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. On Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, we open at 11:30 and we stay open until 6 p.m. And on Sunday, we open up after church and we stay open until 6 p.m. or we sell out, which happens quite frequently. But on the first Sunday of every month, we have a vendors market where we have just arts and crafts vendors, people who make quilts, blankets, pottery. There's also some people that come in and sell the chutneys and the canned goods and stuff, just the home canned goods stuff, and just a variety of just arts and crafts type things. There's a few vendors that there's a lady that does butterfly education down in, I think she's in Hartwell. So she brings up monarch butterfly kits, and she sells those kits so people can start pollinator gardens. She's a regular at our vendors market, and we're excited about that because, like I said, we own a flower farm. So, and she usually sells out of her stuff too. I mean, she brings enough people who are really excited about that kind of thing. So that happens the first Sunday of every month. That starts at 10 a.m. and we go to 4 p.m. A lot of times we'll bring in a bounce house and a water slide, and we'll have families camp out here. They'll show up after church or in the mornings, and they'll come over and get coffee and sausage biscuit from us, because we do offer breakfast items over there in the coffee shop. Then they'll come over, they'll shop the vendors market, they'll let their kids play. They'll play the cornhole boards, they'll listen to the music, because we usually have live music also. Then they'll come back and have lunch with us, and then stay for the rest of the afternoon, and it just becomes a big family affair. Our parking lot,
not a bad way to spend the day with family.
Yeah, exactly. Then we got plenty of seating for that, and they have plenty of parking. Our parking lot winds up being full, but it's a good time, and it's a small Northeast Georgia community, so we wind up with all that.
Yeah. It's the flowers. I want to make sure I don't forget to ask you. So, because this was just like, wow, you've got a multifaceted but like great operation for multiple different seasons of life, people, interests. So you have flowers that are typically here. People can stop in, but you also have a subscription service. So that. Hey, if your girlfriend, significant other, spouse, whatever, if fresh flowers means something to them, like this is the easy button.
Yep, it is. And the good thing is with our flowers, my wife watches the market trends, and she knows what's coming available, what people are wanting. She knows what's coming up. I mean, from the big flower shows that she keeps an eye on. So, and she plants, like she's ordering seeds and bulbs and stuff right now for next spring and next summer. So we'll get those. We'll pull out what we had from last year that it's not going to be fashionable next year. So she'll put in what's there. But what a lot of people don't realize when they go to a normal florist, those florists are ordering flowers in from Honduras or different places around the world, and those crops are so heavily sprayed that there's a high rate of cancer among people who work in the florist industry because of their handling those pesticides constantly that are residual on the plants. Plus they've shipped from overseas. They've been kept refrigerated. When my wife's flower subscription, when you go to Laurel Glen Farm and Flowers and you subscribe, those flowers are cut. That some of them had to be cut 2 days before because they have to have so many hours of chill in the freezer. But most of them are cut. It's just in time. I guess we put it, just in time to be made into bouquets and arrangements, and then they're delivered here fresh. And the flowers, I mean, she puts a bouquet on our dining room table, and they'll be fresh for 2 weeks. And so we get constant comments about, man, he said, I bought my wife flowers, and he said, and we still have them. They still look beautiful. And I mean, weeks later. So
kind of the difference between buying a tomato in the grocery store and growing a tomato out in the backyard.
Exactly. And
shelf life and the taste and everything is
completely different. The colors are different. And like I said, because we don't spray with anything, it's safe to have sitting there on your dining room table, and you don't, if there's bugs on the flowers, we pick them off.
Do you guys do like catering? Do you do large events?
We can.
Sorts.
So people can call here to the coffee shop and talk to me. We can do catering. We can do large events. We can do large corporate events. So one of the things that's really, really cool about this place is we're about 1.5 miles, maybe almost 2 miles outside of city limits of Clarksville, on old historical 441. So between Hollywood and Clarksville, this intersection that we're at right here, Hills Crossing and Hollywood Highway, I've been told, and I've got to find where this is true, but this is the busiest intersection in Habersham County that does not have a traffic light. I said, somebody's going to fact check me on this, but I have been told, and could be wrong, that there's 16,000 cars a day go through this intersection, and most of these folks are headed north up to where we got leaf season fixing to start, so they're going to be driving the back way towards the lakes, headed for leaf season. But people stop in here, probably 4 or 5 times a day. I have somebody stop in here and ask for directions. Or we have somebody new move into the area who want to know what's going on. They've been to the coffee shop a couple times and they don't know what's happening. And what's really cool right now is over in Helen you have Oktoberfest starting. We have people who stop here to get coffee and donuts as they're headed over there. We have leaves beginning to start to blush. I mean, we got cooler mornings these past few mornings, and I keep a close eye on it because as the leaves change, the people travel, and our business definitely picks up. Well, people want to know where to go see the best leaves, what are the best roads. Well, we can point them in the right direction. And we're in the middle of apple picking season, and a lot of people from Atlanta know that they can head over towards Ellijay in that area, but they don't realize that just over the line at South Carolina that we have a huge area that's apple orchards where people can do apple picking. That was Charlie Chaplin when he was big. He actually bought a bunch of land over here in northeast Georgia and I guess that's northwest South Carolina. And he put in apple orchards over there, and those orchards are owned by different families now, and they've done a really good job. Well, to get there, they come past us, go up through the lakes, go through Raven County. They take 76 out to those orchards and come back by here. So they want to know where those kind of things are at, where to go pick apples at, where to come back by and have lunch. There's the waterfalls. We know, I do a lot of backpacking, hiking as a hobby on the side. So, you have people that they know where Panther Creek Trail's at. They know where Tallulah Gorge is at. They want something different.
Yeah.
We know the trails around here well. We can point people in the right direction to get on trail. So, I mean, if you're just in the area and stop in, get a cup of coffee.
Local guide service.
Exactly. Stop in here. Yeah, exactly. We know the fishing guides up here for people who want to go on the soak. So we're friends with them. And
so if you could go back in time, 10 years ago or 20 years ago, your story at the beginning of how you got to sitting across the table from me, quite providential, fortuitous of just the timing and the alignment of just a couple people and a couple conversations.
Yep.
What would you go back? Would you change anything? This kind of segment of kind of the thought process and the question, because there's a lot of people who are in jobs, careers, industries, fill in the blank, that is not, whether it's I'm spending half my life on the interstate or whatever, or commuting, or I'm in a business that I don't enjoy, or it's just that drudgery of life that you don't have I don't know if excitement is the right word or passion is the right word, but the life you're living doesn't have a whole lot of life in it. Mm-hmm. Was that you somewhere in the midst of that last 10, 20 years? Did you always like what you were doing, but just not some of the the elements of commuting or where you were working and the projects you were working on? Or would you, go back to a younger you and say, hey, start looking for something else that is in your passion or interest area, and start formulating a plan around that? Obviously, you couldn't you couldn't make the stars aligned unilaterally like they did for you being here.
Right.
But any of that you would tell somebody that's in a similar situation or a younger you or anything like that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, so growing up in the construction industry, I love the building process. Absolutely love building, and will continue. I have my own, a small construction company on the side that I've had for years, and I'm going to continue to have it. So at times it's very busy, and at times it's less busy. I just do with it what I want to do with it. So the construction industry has been very good. For anybody wanting, a 10-year younger me, I would not tell him not to. A 20-year younger me, I would not tell him to not do that. Growing up self-employed, parents that were self-employed, grandparents that were self-employed, having that entrepreneurial family background, and just knowing that it's kind of the way you live your life. Mm-hmm. Working for another company, it's been good. I've worked for some great companies over the last 15 years. I've worked with some great people. I had great teams. Had a lot of fun doing it, but I never felt like I was in control of my own. Mm-hmm. And I would advise, my advice to a young person was, go ahead and don't take the job. Work for yourself. Yeah. Because that's been the one place where I've suffered, and it's caused anxiety on me. Not anxiety to the point that it was affecting my health or my life. Just always in the background. It's like I'm working for someone else, and I need to be working for myself. Mm-hmm. So that would be my advice. Yep. Go ahead and just be your own boss. Anything that you feel like you did well for preparing to make that switch? We manage. I manage. My wife and I are both. We manage our life very well. Mm-hmm. For the blessings of the Lord, through what He's brought to us, we've had some good lessons in life that weren't necessarily generational, handed down from our parents, but through whatever means necessary, we set ourselves up in a position where we could make the change. Mm-hmm. We save our money, we manage our bills, we manage our credit, we manage our life, we teach our children. Mm-hmm. We're active in our church. We have a solid friend support network. Yeah. Just family associates. We built a support network and a way of living our lives that allowed us to do this. Yeah. If I had been more loose on one of those things, the opportunity may have been here, but I wouldn't have been able to been the person to take it.
Right. Yeah. You handcuffed yourself without really knowing it, not being able to see that. Question I like to ask everybody before we wrap up. It's called Lightning Round. It has a question that has nothing to do with anything we've talked about, but it has a little bit, maybe. So, given the name Cowboy is in the business name, do you have a favorite cowboy movie, old western series you used to watch when you're growing up? Anything in the cowboy realm of cinema or movies or TV shows that it's like, that was my show, that's my movie?
All right, so 2 sons, 5 daughters, and I would have a TV room downstairs at our house. Would go downstairs and turn on the John Wayne Western and have them roll their eyes. The old John Wayne movies are just, all of them are great, and I love them. And it reminds me of the grandfathers and stuff. So,
Awesome. Before we end, how do people connect with you most easily, most readily? If you'll go over the weekends that you're doing, if it's like the first weekend of the month or whatever you do for the vendor
market,
market, and then just anything else that people would need to know in terms of connecting with y'all.
Yeah, so they can find us on Facebook or Instagram through Cowboy Bob's Coffee and Donuts or Smoking Bows Live Fire Pit Barbecue. We have 2 different pages there that we constantly tagging each other off of and advertising things. And then the Laurel Glen Farm and Flowers is our other business. They can find that on Facebook or Instagram. And our hours, so for the coffee shop, we're Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Saturday and Sunday, we're 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. So we're open 7 days a week here in the coffee shop. On the barbecue, we are Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Every day except for Sunday, we're 11:30 a.m. until 6 p.m. On Sundays, we open up after church for the barbecue, but the coffee shop is already open. And then the flowers here, because we're small, it's seasonal. They just need to call here and make sure that we have fresh flowers, or let us know. They can call up here to the coffee shop and just ask what flowers are available. And if we don't have any of that time, the girls will take a note. We'll get it to my wife, and then she can call back and let them know what we do have available at the farm, and we can get them up here for them. Oh, also, and we do usually have, we're out of it today, but we usually have local fresh wild honey that comes from our apiary. Our phone number here at the shop is 706-754-3941. Like I said, they can call that number anytime.
Awesome. Well, Bo, thanks for your time, and our family will definitely be seeing you guys this fall.
That's awesome.
This is the North Georgia Life Podcast. Embrace life where you live.